let's talk about the case against AI. Now, there are lots of people who are going to say, listen, you Luddite. I'll say, yes, listening. You just hate technology. I'll be like, yes, that's correct. And you just want to go back to the 1950s. I'm like, that's not far enough, but good start, right? I think that AI is actually a bad thing. And actually, I think that once the genie is out of the bottle, it can't be put back in. So perhaps we might want to think about what we're doing on this journey, and maybe we don't have to take it, because there's always going to be the person going, wow, it's inevitable. It's like, is it though? Actually, it seems like it's a great effort to put all of this together. And so if we stop doing it, it doesn't inevitably come about, actually. I'm just saying, launch the Butlerian jihad. If anyone gets that reference, I'm just joking. Yeah, MI5. Anyway, so there are people sounding the alarm being like, hang on a second. Don't our enemies also have access to AI? Yes. Can't they also use AI to, like that, create wild propaganda that might actually cause massive social unrest? Yes. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Is this giving them a level of cultural competence they wouldn't otherwise have had? Yes, that is. It is doing that, actually. Because, of course, what does the Chinese person know about the inner workings of the American mind? Well, not much. But if you've got an AI that can literally scan every social media post made by an American ever, then actually that could give you a lot more insight and can actually do that for you. This is, of course, what the People's Liberation Army of China are going to do. They're looking for a long-term and high-impact way to orchestrate large digital media campaigns, and generative AI will be especially good at helping China accomplish that task, according to a new report. For the Chinese military, the generative AI offers the possibility it could do something it could never do before: manipulate social media with high-quality, human-quality content at scale. Chinese military researchers routinely complain that the PLA lacks necessary amount of staff with adequate foreign language skills and cross-cultural understanding. Right, so there's real-world practical reasons to be against the proliferation of AI and what it can do. You look skeptical there, Callum.
I think they could probably learn English if they wanted to.
Yeah, but
They just don't want to.
Yeah, but they can't learn how to be Americans. Right? They can't learn how to be Brits. That's the thing. Like the human mind is loaded with cultural baggage because year zero is nonsense, and you can't. It goes down to not only just the way that we deal with each other, but even the way we form sentences in our heads.
I know. My point is just, if you actually wanted to do this more confidently, you could just fun it.
The screen's just flicked on.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, possibly, but as the Chinese researchers are saying, well, look, this is actually difficult, right? You need to find the individuals who can do this. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, but actually, the AI doing it is not that much work or effort at all, right? And so that, in and of itself, okay, there are actual dangers from geopolitical opponents. Fair enough.
Do you remember when we did the Active Measures Book Club?
Yep.
And the KGB made this pamphlet
Mhm.
that was meant to be a fake KKK advert.
Yeah.
And it was like broken English and
It was hilariously bad. Yeah.
kind of a mess. Yeah,
Now-
that's what I'm imagining.
Yeah, but imagine if it wasn't in broken English and it actually was like it was done by someone who was very familiar with the subject.
So the CCP are going to be sitting there printing off KKK adverts that
Well, no, they'll be printing off
very insightful.
other revolutionary pamphlets.
What's it called when you try and incite violence? Is there a word for
Agent
that?
provocateur?
Yeah, provocative.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah, but they will have access to all of this. So this is something that we can undoubtedly expect to see in the pipeline in the next few years. Then you've also got don't use AI to talk with on the internet. There are loads of AI chatbots and things like that. Don't ever just block it if it comes up in your timeline. You do not need to talk to a computer. A computer is not really talking to you. This is not good. There was a study done at Ohio State University, and they say the obvious. What we found is that people don't think a friend should use any third-party AI to maintain their relationship. As in, there are going to be AI intermediaries, right? So you are going to have a little AI chatbot that you say, go and wish so-and-so a happy birthday, and it will write like a paragraph and send that to that person, and then their AI chatbot will get that, and it will translate into, this person says happy birthday. Don't do it. Don't do it. That is going to be the future.
The South Park thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Post-Zoomer.
I thought you were talking about, do you get those adverts for like sexy AI?
I've seen them.
It keeps coming up being like, you can chat dirty with me. And I'm like, I'm just trying to play the click game.
Yeah,
Like,
bro. Why would I want to? but this, they obviously found that effort is very important in a relationship. Really, outsourcing your
Have
relationship.
you tried loving your partner?
Not even loving your partner, just putting the effort in with your mates. You know, don't mediate your friendships using AI. I mean, obviously, but there are probably going to be like some 17-year-olds who are hooked on internet porn and AI replica chatbots or whatever who don't know this. So I'm making this statement now, right? But then you get to the sort of more nuanced arguments, like Tim Burton, for example. Now, whatever you may feel about Tim Burton's art, he is a notable artist. I have my complaints about Tim Burton, but he, I think, made a good point here where he says AI artwork was very good, as in technically very good, and some of it is amazing. But something about the pictures makes him feel uneasy because something important is lacking. He says, I can't describe the feeling it gives you. It reminded me of when other cultures say, don't take my picture because it's taking away your soul. What it does is suck something. What the hell's going on that screen? What it does is suck something from you. It takes something from your soul or psyche. It's very disturbing, especially if it has to do with you. It's like a robot taking your humanity or your soul. Now, I think he's kind of right about this.
Ice cream, so good. I mean, that definitely does take your soul out of it.
But that's not even AI.
No.
That's the thing. That's a human mimicking AI. But the thing about the AI art is that he is on something here, right? Because there is a purpose behind art, and that purpose is the transmission of a message. It is someone has understood an aspect of reality in the human condition, and the only way they can describe to you what they have experienced to communicate that message to you is to create a work of art, write a poem, sculpture, whatever it is. And then your experience on the other end of that process, because they go through the whole process. They actually don't know how it's going to turn out as they begin it, but then the skill of the artist is employed. They produce this work of art that is designed to produce an aesthetic experience in you. And so you are the recipient of a message that's being transmitted about what it is to be human. And I think that's really what he's driving at here. It's like, look, the AI can only in the most soulless way try and replicate this. There is no message from the computer to you about the human condition. What the computer can do is just aggregate and say, well, I think you will respond well to this. And that's the best it can do. And so there is definitely, again, I hate to be on Tim Burton's side, to be honest, because I find him insufferable. But but this is definitely something I think he's right on.
Pulse war on air.
Something happening? I think you're losing your mind.
No, the screen keeps flicking on and off. Yes.
Okay, I can't see.
I can see it
going
directly
mental.
on my
Yeah, there's this feeling that's hard to escape about AI in general.
Yeah.
Is that it will have sort of a Skynet moment.
I'm not even worried
where
about
it's
that.
sort of, well, I'm just saying that's sort of the ultimate fear. The scientist Brian Cox says that that's a long way off.
Yeah.
That may happen, but that's a long way off. So we're now dealing with, at the moment in 2023, sort of the first pangs of the weird, surreal oddness,
unreality.
An unreality that comes with that. And I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
One thing I would say though is, and I may be wrong about this because I've not researched it in any real depth, but AI at the moment I don't think is truly intelligent. It's still a reflection of whoever programmed it.
Yep.
So if you keep that in mind, my thinking is that in fact it's just an extrapolation of humans still at this point. It's not truly its own soulless thing. It's actually just a sort of a second-hand or maybe third-hand reflection of whoever programmed the AI. Now, I think that some AI art, although I agree with you and Tim Burton on this, there's something sort of uncanny valley about it, something weird and odd and unhuman and all that sort of thing. It's actually sometimes way better than some modern art.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just someone screeching, pouring baked beans all over themselves. And that's,
yeah.
You know, so there's quite a lot of AI. It's way better than that.
In a technical sense, a lot of the AI art is incredible. Like, it looks incredible. Like some of the mid-journey renders, some of them just looks amazing. Even, of course, in other cases, it looks terrible.
You seen the Daphne drawing?
No.
So some guy the other day tweeted out that he just purchased a drawing of Daphne from Scooby-Doo, and that was really good for $500. And then someone pointed out that the artist had given it to him through an AI. It was completely AI generated, and this guy had paid $500 for it.
Well, there we go.
But the thing is that the drawing is actually really, really good. Like, you're saying you
Yes.
get nothing out of it, but I looked at it and thought, no, that's actually quite nice.
Yeah, it is quite nice, but it's like having an insubstantial diet, right? It's like, look, I'm eating all of this like artificial sweetener.
Calories.
Yeah, empty calories, artificial sweetener, and you can consume it for days upon days upon days, but you will never have learned anything about being a human and about what reality is really like, because you're just looking at a shadow of a shadow of a shadow of this thing. And it's a really advanced, really complicated one. It's really difficult to discern. But if you look at it for long enough, you'll realize that there's nothing in here that makes you think about anything, because there can't be, because the thing that generated it has no idea why it's generating it. It's just, now 3 of them are gone. So it's not just me.
This is what you get for bitching about AI. The
Yeah, I can see
machine spirit is fighting back.
It may well be. Yeah, John, have a quick look at it, man. Anyway, so this is something that I think, unfortunately, I have to agree with the sort of people that otherwise I would definitely not agree with. And I think this is a genuine problem, that is, we come from a position where we have had the previous era to live through, right? As in, we know that the great art is done by great artists who go through a period of kind of trial and suffering and honing their skills to the point where they then can produce the immaculate thing, right? There will come a time in like 50 years' time where nobody has ever seen anything that wasn't just AI generated. Right? Your grandchildren, for their whole lives, will be AI generated pictures, AI generated TV programs, AI generated computer games. The concept of a human producing something to transmit that message will have been lost, and they won't know why, and they'll be acclimatized to the idea that all art is just nonsense that's produced at the drop of a hat for no reason and can just be disposed anyway. You don't have to spend any time engaging with it or thinking about it. I actually think there's something quite bad about that.
Yeah, one thing I'd say, I think you might well be right, at least in a broad sense. I think it'll probably take more than 50 years, but
Sure.
nonetheless, the point you're making is fair. I saw the other day or a few weeks ago that V was genuinely trying to make the argument that some manga drawing was better than the Mona Lisa. No, it's complete nonsense.
Oh, well, I don't know
No,
what
it's,
the manga
it was
drawing
one of
was,
the most
so-
embarrassing things I've ever seen. Someone try and argue. He's just flatly wrong.
That's fine.
However,
I'm sure he'll debate it with you on Twitter.
there's nothing to debate.
I've seen the Mona Lisa. It is kind of shit.
Well, again, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
I'm not saying the manga drawing's any good either.
I don't know what the manga drawing is, but
anyway,
I do agree that the Mona Lisa's overrated.
Sorry to interrupt.
But yeah, the point you're making in a general sense is fair. But then I suppose, without being too sort of artsy fartsy and vague and hippy dippy about it, all art is subjective and beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
You know, if he genuinely thinks that's better, it's fine. There's no wrong or right answer, is what I'm saying. Really, to be perfectly honest, there's no wrong or right answer.
Yeah.
But there is a degeneration. Like the bar is lowered for a lot of people.
Yes.
So is that not sort of inevitable? If we don't somehow eradicate all AI entirely, is it not just inevitable that in generations' time, most things that people see, most art will be AI generated?
Yeah,
unless you eradicate AI.
it probably is inevitable.
And isn't that impossible, though? Like you say, the genie's out of the bottle. There's some
I don't think
things-
it's quite fully out yet. That's the thing.
There's some things, I've had this conversation with Josh, I think, where it is possible for human civilization to sort of put the genie back in the bottle, at least to some degree. So, for example, in the Cold War, various countries, including Great Britain, actually, worked on sort of insanely poisonous nerve agents, like VX gas and things, certain polymers that could potentially turn all the world's oceans to a solid, things like this. And we realized...
Do we want solid oceans?
Yeah, we realized that perhaps that's so crazy that we would just stop doing it, actually make a conscious decision to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Or the proliferation of nuclear weapons. You know, we have tried to stop rogue organizations and rogue countries from getting it. So it might be possible, but with AI, you know, each case is separate. With AI, I'm not sure it's going to be possible to keep that genie in the bottle. Like already, if a relatively small setup anywhere in the world, if you've got enough processing power, you'll be able to do. Who's going to stop the CCP if they decide that's what they want to do? No one could stop them, really.
I agree.
Or the United States intelligence services, or the British intelligence services, or whatever. I fear it's a genie that will not be put back in the bottle.
And it's entirely possible that you're right, but I still want to be on the record saying I warned you.
The 1980s were better.
Just anything that was made by a human was better, just because it was a human creation.
Because we are just about old enough. We've said this more than once, haven't we? We remember the days before the internet and mobile phones, when just completely straight up normal human interactions were the complete norm. There was no other option,
and you didn't even think about it.
It looking back on it, it does seem like it was a more healthy, wholesome,
a golden age,
something like that. Yeah. I don't want to get too
sentimental about it. But I totally understand what you mean. Like, I saw a video the other day going around of like an American high school in like 1997, and the people just look happy and healthy. They just all look totally normal. They're not like weirdly neotenous. Like young people now look very childlike, whereas these look like young adults, and they were just happy and smiling and just fooling around. And there were lots of, it was diverse, you could say, but they were all just normal people being normal. And I'll send it to you after this, Callum, if you want, because it's just, you won't believe it, that this is what we used to live like, right? Everyone was just normal, and it was great.
I don't really know what you're saying all this for.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
No, I mean,
doesn't care.
Not that he doesn't care.
No, you're saying all this, and then it's like, well, yeah, life's going to change. The technology's going to do the thing.
Yeah.
The only thing we can actually do is decide how to live with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was talking to you about that. Yeah, I was. Where, yeah, we live in the modern age of phones and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to, again, use Russia as an example just because it's weird, different enough, but close enough that it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, for example, they banned OnlyFans. And so they don't have that culture there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have this technology, but that aspect, which, people like us would complain about in the West as a bad part of the West, you can just turn it off.
Well, that's the point. That's exactly the point I'm making. You actually can just turn these things off. I mean, in fact, this is what Netflix is doing as well. Because you remember that they are in an argument with, again, a bunch of people I, on a personal level, really despise. But I think actually are in the right here because, of course, the Film Actors Guild are objecting to the fact that they're not going to get paid for digital representations of their own images or voices and things like that. And Netflix was like, yeah, great. We're just going to get AI generated content from now on.
They're not going to do that.
Well, that's not true. They have. There was a Disney movie recently where the entire intro of it was AI generated. So it's begun, basically, right? And just to be clear, I completely disagree with this in the same way as any other art piece. The problem with it, right, is it's generally quite degrading to what a human being should consider themselves to be. As in, this is the equivalent of just putting like nodes into your brain and activating the pleasure center. That's the equivalent of AI generated content. Because with a human made content, you've got the human intentionality behind it. They're like, right, I'm going to tell this particular story, so you will learn something. Right? There is always an aspect of learning in any kind of art, any kind of storytelling. And this is what I was talking about in my deep think of the politics of Warhammer 40,000. Right? And this is what Aristotle recognized 2,500 years ago. The entertainment value of it comes from the entire thing and the sort of the arc of the story and the closure of the story and the skill in which it's told. If that is abstracted into a formula that a machine just customizes and creates, then actually what it is kind of like a Skinner box or something like that, where it's just right now you've reduced my capacity as a human being to something that is algorithmic. And now you're like, right, okay, what do I need to do to flash this up to spark a brain signal that gives me the pleasure of watching it, and therefore you have my attention. And now I've been reduced merely to the material realm of how many hours can I get you watching this piece of content? What's your attention span? Blah, blah, blah. It's not engaging with me as a person dealing with an issue that other human beings deal with. And so that's really my big objection to AI. It is the total reduction of the human being into a fungible, just consumer product. And I really hate it. And they absolutely will make AI generated TV shows, movies, stuff like this. It may not be tomorrow, but this will happen in the future.
I'm not denying that. The reason I said it won't happen with Disney is because that thing will go bankrupt before they end up making that adjustment.
Sure, but
Disney Plus doesn't make money; it never will.
yeah, but like I said, they've already started doing it. So
I know. I'm not
there's-
saying you won't be able to make AI movies. Absolutely.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
make AI movies.
and
I'm
it,
just saying Disney's
it may not be Disney, but someone,
Disney's situation.
Sure.
It's
So-
going to go bankrupt.
sure, sure, but someone's going to do it,
I
right?
think you're right, and I don't disagree with anything you say, but I fear that for a lot of people, they won't care. Like you made the analogy there of just plugging in some sort of thing into your brain and just stimulating the right synapse to make you feel pleasure. I mean, sort of say that's all narcotics or soma
Yeah, that's
or
what
something. A lot of people are like, I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's better than the misery I've got without that. So I'll take that deal.
But most people agree that being on drugs is not a good thing.
No, I know. But I'm
I mean,
saying there's
always gonna
plenty
be a
that aren't.
fringe,
All right.
you know.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, there's always going to be the fringe.
If there's a market for a thing,
But I do think we have to have a sort of consciousness about why we art, as in why art at all, right? And we actually do need a consciousness, because it's not merely the quality of the picture; it's also the intent behind the picture that, in fact, matters more than the quality of the picture. Because you could do an amazing picture of something evil, and you wouldn't want to look at it, right? You could, if you did an amazing picture of someone being abused, you wouldn't want to look at that picture, because you'd be like, why does the artist want me to see this person being abused? Whereas if you look at
you're talking about John Podesta's private art collection.
I possibly might be, actually. But then if you look at this amazing picture of the God Emperor of Mankind, wielding his flaming sword, there's different intent behind this. There's the entire thing, the entire experience contains different messaging, different intent, and this speaks to what you are as a person and the person who made this. And interrupting that, I think, actually just ruins art as a concept. I kind of hate it. And I realize this is quite abstract and kind of like, well, I don't really, do I have a concrete thing in my life where I think about that? But I think this is a real thing, and this is really something we have to worry about. And this, I think, is one of the reasons why Amazon, for example, like, right, okay, we're going to have to start making it so, well, you've got to declare if you're using AI to generate your content, because actually it's become apparent that there are going to be consumers like myself who are going to be like, I don't want AI BS. What?
Is this vegan friendly? Is this Luddite friendly product?
Yes.
Luddite
Yes.
friendly. Please buy.
Honestly, I think this will become the kind of hipster. This is made by a human. This will become the hipster art in the future. It will be literally, your daily life will be so subsumed with AI generated content, you'll be sick of seeing it. You'll recognize it when you see it. I mean, you can already tell when something's mid journey, right? You can already tell when something's stable diffusion. You can actually already pick these things together. I mean, they'll get more advanced, but eventually it will come to a point where you're looking for things that are kind of rubbish. You can see the brushstroke on it, right? For authenticity. This is a real thing that a real human being made. And I'm not just being manipulated by an algorithm, right?
Perhaps human-made art will become a lot rarer
Yes.
and be a lot more valuable.
Yes.
I was watching the original Blade Runner just the other day, and I don't know if you remember the bit where there's an owl in it. And he says, "Is that real?" And they're like, "Of course it's not real. Of course
I
it's
can't
not a real
remember
owl."
offhand, but that's exactly the kind of world we're moving.
As if I could afford a real owl.
Yeah.
Whereas the perfect fake one is, you could mass produce them or something.
Whereas a painting on the wall, it can't be mass produced, but this is what gives it the sort of mythological significance. This is the only one of this in all of the universe, in all of history. This is what makes it valuable.
Thought of a very horrific outcome in the political world here,
Go on.
which is that all of that crappy art and blah 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 is also going to be where all of the politically incorrect stuff is, because all the humans rebelling will be down there.
Yeah, and the
Whereas
AI will be lobotomy.
Perfect AI stuff made by the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Defense to talk about how two mums is actually a great idea and blah blah blah. Yeah, that'll be all AI made.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, if you just want more, come and watch our cyberpunk dystopias. I've got another one lined up. You looking forward to it, Callum?
Oh, God, why?
Because they're great. Because this is the world we're making.
Looking at that thumbnail, you think I'm hyped for this?
Yeah, I'm hyped for just how bad things can get.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this episode on the economics of organized crime. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.